Hello, and thank you for joining this brand new episode of Speaking of Happy with your host, Eli Rigatuso. And joining us tonight is Mo Bailey of Norfolk Area Pride, who's also an empowerment coach, business coach, and captivating speaker. Thanks for joining us for this brand new episode of Speaking of Happy, starting right now. Yes. Here we are, brand new episode. I have been away for a while, busy with just all kinds of things, teaching people how to be better people in some cases, just like one conversation at a time. I mean, this past month, I've done a couple of facilitated a couple of different trainings, been working with a local nonprofit who has hired myself and Avalisa to do these trainings, which has been really amazing. Avalisa Ellicott, as you know, is my co-host on Frankly Speaking, which is the show that runs every other Friday, opposite of Speaking of Happy, because there's always something to talk about, right? But anyway, I want to get right to it because last weekend, I had the honor of, it's hard not to get emotional about this because it was such an extraordinary event, but I had the honor of being invited to come and be on a panel at Norfolk Area Pride, their first ever Pride celebration. And I tell you what, there's going to be a lot to talk about because it really was truly a beautiful experience. And as the promo said, I have the vice president of Norfolk, and there's, I don't know, Norfolk. I've been told it's two different things, but anyway, Norfolk, Nebraska, had their first ever Pride, and Mo Bailey is the vice president of the Pride organization there. She's also an empowerment coach, business coach, captivating public speaker, and the director of Grace Community. Mo is known for her public speaking skills and is often invited to MC events in her community. Mo believes in the power of story to connect, heal, and inspire people. We can agree on that. We're in line there. Mo's purpose in life extends beyond her professional roles. She deeply values creating safe spaces where all people feel worthy of belonging. Her work with CASA, the Norfolk Area Diversity Council, and the Norfolk Area Pride is her way of trying to make her corner of the world a better place. And let me tell you, they certainly made a huge impact this past weekend. Mo also lives with the two loves of her life, her wife Angie and their mini Doxy, Oakley. Find out more about Mo Bailey at Coaching with Mo, or the real Mo Bailey. I'm gonna bring Mo on. Hey, how you doing?
Hello, I'm so good.
Oh, hold on.
Uh-oh.
There you are. It's my fault.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Wonderful.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, Eli, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Man, as you know, last weekend was fun and exciting and heavy and hard and beautiful and all of the things. So, I'm still exhausted, and I'm also super thankful to be here because I know that I'll get to decompress some things that I am still, still handling. So,
well, and the truth of the matter, a lot of people don't understand all it takes to put on an event like that without it also being an event that highlights who we are as people, because there is still a lot of opposition. And when you think about, tinier places, smaller places like Norfolk, there are valid concerns, right? I mean, I have to tell you that when I was driving there, I mean, we're 2 hours away. And when I was driving there, it was like just watching the scenery change, and then the number of signs that start to pop up, promoting things that aren't in line with me and my life. And so there was, I processed a little bit of this with my therapist on Wednesday, because it's so like the stuff that comes up is valid. I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir with you, but it just
Yeah.
really, there's all of that going on, and then there's the
Mhm.
excitement of this new thing, and and then again, most people don't know what it takes. Like, you have been planning this event for a very long time. I mean,
Mhm.
I know I pulled off your website that the Norfolk Area Pride was established in 2019 under the name River Valley Pride. The name was
Mhm.
changed to Norfolk Area Pride in 2020. And David Cockrum, a physician with Faith Regional Health Services, New Norfolk, needed a pride organization. Well, he knew that Norfolk
Yeah.
needed a pride organization and that the Norfolk area was ready to support one. And so they
Yeah.
planned on having an event in 2020. And then, of course, COVID, we all know what happened in 2020, right? We kind of had to just erase that year. Um,
Exactly.
but tell me a little bit about, like, what went into it. What were you thinking
Mhm.
going into it? What were maybe some of the roadblocks that you faced?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it'd be helpful just to tell a little bit about my background, and I won't spend too much time on that. But I was born and raised in Norfolk, and so I have lived here my entire life. I grew up in the Lutheran church here, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, which only matters if you're Lutheran, but it means that it's the more conservative of the Lutherans. Okay.
Oh, well, that's
Um,
important to note.
exactly. That's the important part. Yes.
Yeah.
And so my I went to Lutheran grade school. And so the narrative that I had for my entire life was that being gay, being different, being anything other than a cis het person was not okay.
Right.
And it was less than not okay. It was not loved by God. And from a very young age, I have experienced spirit. Like, I've experienced this love and energy in the universe that is unexplainable to me. And the only language I had ever been given to sort of talk about these things or explain these things or understand these things was the language of conservative Christianity. And so for me, I think I sort of like forced my giant rainbow beautiful heart into a a conservative Christian sized hole for a really long time.
Mm.
And so unfortunately, I did not feel safe to come out to myself, let alone safe to come out to my family or my friends or my community until a
Right.
lot later on in life. And so I think as I lived in Omaha for a few years, actually, from 2009 to 2012, and then again from 2017 to 2019. And in Omaha, it was really exciting to see all these things going on, right? Like, Omaha already had a really blossoming pride and people who cared about diversity. And my ex at the time was working for inclusive communities. And so, like, I was, sorry, not inclusive communities, in common community development.
Ah.
And I was familiar with inclusive communities. And so, like, I saw all of these things happening. Like,
Mhm.
I know there's a lot of work yet to be done in Omaha. Like, I get that. And there were people doing the work. And I kept looking back at Norfolk and being like, nothing's happening. Like, no one is having these conversations. Like, no one is starting anything. And honestly, I kept looking back at Norfolk and my heart would just break. Like nothing's happening in Norfolk.
Right.
And I, through a series of events with my work and whatever, I felt like I was supposed to be back in Norfolk. And as I've been back here since 2019, I heard about Pride and I was like, I want to get involved, and came out shortly after that to my family, met my wife. We got married on 4-3-2-1. So I'm a newlywed.
Hey,
And
congratulations.
thank you. Thank you.
Wow,
And right as
I didn't know that when I
oh,
met y'all
oh,
that it was so
yes.
new. Okay.
Yes. So new. So new. Yep. Um, like you said, Dr. David Cockrum started Pride. So he retired from the military, was recruited to Norfolk. In early 2019, I believe, he went to World Pride, which was in New York City, and had a great time. Thought it was awesome. He came back to Norfolk, and besides his husband, I don't think knew many, if any, other gay individuals here. And all of his friends were allies. And so I think they were eating dinner one night, and he said, "Do you think we could start a Pride here?" And they were like, "You're crazy." And he's like, "Okay, but will you try it with me?" And a couple of his friends just like jumped in and said yes. And they, developed the organization and started meeting.
Yeah.
And I heard about it and went to a meeting and just jumped in right away. And they, right as I jumped in, we're talking about doing a Pride in 2020, which we know that whole year is just like delete from our timelines. It's so bizarre. And so we put that Pride off, and we were still questioning, like, just with COVID and safety and all that stuff, like, is this something that we can do, and can we do it well? And we decided yes in, it would have been June. So I literally got married April 3rd. 10 days before our wedding, I found out that I had uterine cancer, actually.
Wow.
And so we got married in April. I had surgery in May and had to recover from that. And then in June, we hit the ground running with Pride. So I've had a busy year. I don't know about y'all, but yeah, it's been a crazy busy year for me. And my whole, and you'll get this if you go like read anything on my website, but my whole thing in life, the thing that has changed my life, the thing that has helped me love myself is believing that I belong. Believing that whatever space I show up in, whether it's at a conservative Christian church, or whether it is at a Pride festival, or whether it is at a diversity council meeting, or a city council meeting, or wherever it is, no matter what anyone else is saying in the room, I belong. I belong there if I choose and if I decide and believe that I belong there. And so I felt like, again, for my whole life growing up in Norfolk, that if I wanted to be myself, if I wanted to be really, truly me, I would have to go somewhere else to do it. And through therapy and support and a lot of love from my friends and family, and a lot of self-work, I realized, it kind of was concurrent with meeting my wife and going to the early Pride meetings, that I belong here.
Yeah.
And so does every other human being. And so I threw my whole heart into that Pride festival to be like, here we go. Like, we're doing it. And every step of the way for me was about love. Like, when people show up, like, if people come to the art center, that's where we had our event, right? If someone walks up, like, how do we let them know they feel loved? You know, if someone walks in the building or sticks around or goes to the drag show after, or whatever it is, every step of the way, how do I make sure that the people who show up here know that they belong here, know that they can be in Norfolk and be loved here, and know that they belong? So that's how it all started for me.
Well, and it's not
So,
an uncommon story, even for folks from Omaha, Nebraska, and Omaha is
right.
bigger than Norfolk, right? But
I'll,
people,
mm-hmm,
I mean, at one point in my life, I thought in order for me to actually live and be free and be who I am, I need to leave too. And I tried to
yeah.
escape, but it sucked me back in. I was only gone for a little under a year. Um,
Mm-hmm,
and and I don't regret that I came back. And I came back
mm-hmm,
in, gosh, it was like it was in the mid to
mm-hmm,
late 90s. Like I said, I was only gone for about a year and I went all the way to New York.
mm-hmm.
And but it is a common story, and it's still a
Right.
common story even today. Like people living in
Mm-hmm.
Omaha, Nebraska will say like, I can't
Yep.
stand to be here anymore because there's not open and affirming spaces for LGBTQ
Mm-hmm,
plus people. That is a
mm-hmm,
reality.
mm-hmm.
So but what I really just love about your pride event is the fact that, like, you were saying at one point on one of the panels, you're like, we were going to be happy with like 50 people showing up. and and tell everybody what happened. Like, what happened?
Yeah. Yeah. So my original goals, I was like, all right, let's have 50 people. Like, let's plan for 50 people. And if we get 50 people there, great. And as we planned, and I started inviting people, and I started asking local businesses for support, and I started publishing things, right? Like putting stuff out there, like, hey, we're going to have Pride. I just felt supported, honestly. I have some stories about not feeling supported, and we can talk about that too. But a majority of the time, I felt love and support. And I just had this sense. I was like, this is going to be big. This is going to be bigger than any of us think it's going to be.
Yeah.
So we were sitting at a board meeting, I think it was about 6 weeks before the event. And we're a small enough organization that our board is also our Pride Planning Committee. Like,
Well,
it's
I'll tell you
basically the
what.
same.
Hey, it's basically the same thing in Omaha, Nebraska, and has
Yeah.
been for many years. Like, there's nobody
Yep.
being paid to do this work, and
Right.
that's something I think
Yeah.
is important. Not in Omaha, not in Norfolk. They don't get paid
Yep.
in Lincoln.
Yep.
Some of these smaller areas, we
Mm-hmm.
are what they would call a working board.
Yep.
And I know
Yep.
this because I was one of the founders of Heartland Pride, which
Yep.
is the Omaha Pride celebration. And so I know
Mm-hmm.
because I poured my blood, sweat, and tears into Heartland Pride for many years,
Yep.
with just even a plethora of pushback. So I've heard
Yeah.
it all.
Yep. I get
So
it.
anyway,
Yes.
keep going. So keep
Yeah,
going. So you're
so
all
we
6
were
weeks
at
prior.
we're like, yeah, 6 weeks prior, and we're sitting at a board meeting, and someone, we're talking about like tables and chairs, and how many tables and chairs do we need, and how many supplies do we need, and how many, we have no
Yeah.
idea. This is our first time having any type. I'm like, well, I don't know.
What if we
Like,
order 100 shares and only
yeah,
10 people show up?
exactly. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, and I said, it's kind of like an open house setup where like some people will come early and like leave early. Some people will stay longer. Some, like, we just don't know. Oh, look, my nails are still painted for Pride. I got them in the picture. I'm like, oh, that's so cute. Okay.
That's
So
perfect.
I know, we had no idea. And I was like, I'm just sitting there. And I was like, we're going to have 500 people there. Like, this overwhelming like feeling came over me. And I was
Mm.
like, we're going to have 500 people. And I said it out loud. And I worded it as like, my goal is to have 500 people. And my board, like, several people laughed and shook their heads and thought I was being sarcastic. And my board president was like, okay, Mo, like, okay.
Mo, did you stop at the bar on your way into the
Exactly.
meeting?
Exactly. Yep. It was that kind of feeling. And I was like, no, really, like, I think we're going to have 500 people there. And I just remember, it was like, so the day of the festival, we put all this work into it, right? Like,
Wow.
we had some safety concerns. And also, I just had a desire to count the number of folks who were there if we could. And we wanted to make sure everyone was safe, as far, like, we had some threat of like protesters and that sort of thing. And so we decided kind of late in the game that we were going to put a fence up all the way around the property, and
Smart.
limit everything to one entrance.
Yeah.
so that our
Yeah.
and we hired a security detail, right? So
Sure.
that everyone would have to come in and out of one place, and it just helped us like keep a better eye on, who was coming and going.
Yeah.
And so it was like 20 minutes before we start, and I'm standing at our info table, and I'm like looking around, and I'm so like, there's music playing, and we have bounce houses, and there's food trucks, and I have all these volunteers, and we have a merch table, and I know these amazing panels are coming, and our vendors are all set up. And I'm like, holy crap, like we did this, we made it happen. And I like look around and I get really teary-eyed. And then the next thought is anybody coming? Like, is anybody even gonna come? Like, what if we
Yeah.
just did this hours of work and no one comes? Because I had no guarantee. Like, we had no
Right. Right.
guarantee, right? And so it's 3 o'clock. Our gates are officially open. People start coming, walking through, and I had one of my board members, Daniel, was really great. He was just he was kind of like my runner and communicator throughout the whole day. Like, he just made sure everyone was happy, like made sure all my vendors got to their spots and whatever. So he was going back and forth to the gate and telling me like what the count was, like every once in a while he'd just come find me. And I think we were an hour in, so it was 4 o'clock, and we had surpassed 300 people.
Oh, wow.
In 1 hour.
Wow.
And I was like, we're gonna hit our 500. Like, I just knew it, like
if you
when
build
you're
it.
over. Yes, exactly. I'm like, they're coming. Like, there's people here. We're doing it. We're doing the thing. And oh my gosh, there were so many times that day, that I would just stop and I would look around this space and just weep, like just weep. And I remember thinking, like, I think half of the reason that I did this, like at least half of my motivation was like, Mo, like, I'm doing this for little Mo, like I'm doing this for myself when I was in high school, like, because there was nothing, like I didn't know it was okay to just be me,
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, it was just such a beautiful day. It was crazy. Like, the founder of SUX Pride was there. You were there, and I know that you've been super involved in Heartland Pride since the beginning. And from so many, we had people from Atlanta, Georgia, from Kansas City.
Oh, yeah. I'm
And
going to run through this
yeah,
list. I mean, Omaha,
yeah, do it.
Columbus,
Yep.
Lee, Lexington, Mankato, Minnesota, Atkinson, Nebraska, Stanton, Nebraska, Chicago, Illinois, Eugene, Oregon, Osmond, Nebraska, Dodge, Nebraska, Bloomfield, Nebraska, Lincoln, Sherburne, Minnesota, Fairbury, Nebraska, Ewing, Nebraska, Yankton, South Dakota, Shenyang, China, Orchard, Nebraska, Norfolk, Nebraska, obviously, because that's where we were, Wayne, Nebraska, Kearney, Nebraska, Vermilion, South Dakota, Neely, Nebraska. Is that how they say that? Neely?
Yep, Neely. Yep.
Sioux City, Iowa, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Phoenix, Arizona, Kansas City, Missouri, and Atlanta, Georgia. Those were all of the cities and state areas represented at this Pride, which is, I think about this and I think, well, heck, I mean, think about all of those small areas around that, around your community, just outside of Norfolk. And one of the things that people don't understand is that in these smaller areas, especially our transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming folks are really struggling in these areas.
Yeah.
And so it was truly remarkable to have this experience be available for those folks.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I know there's always bumps and turns and twists and,
Of course.
uplifting knowledge and education is an ongoing thing. I mean, there were many things that I could have said about some of the things that were shared on some of the panels, and my trans heart was like, because I am always thinking of the young people. The young people who might have been watching the live stream that I did, I brought my live streaming equipment and we live streamed from the event right to your Facebook page. We had a few foibles through the through the parent panel and didn't quite get the whole thing, but it's all good.
Yeah.
We did get the entire LGBTQ plus panel. And again, it's a learning experience, but it was a beautiful experience. I mean, my thing is
Mhm.
like here after driving 2 hours to get there and seeing some of the signs that I saw that made me uncomfortable and the concern that kind of
Anxiety.
started to
Yeah.
swell up, right?
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
turning the corner into the parking lot and all of the flags, like it just I wept. Like I
Mhm.
was weeping pulling into the because I felt like, wow, okay, now I'm good. I'm here and I'm good. And what
Mhm.
we're doing is important, right?
Right. Mhm.
So yeah. So tell me some more. Like what was the highlight of the day outside of the fact that you had almost 600 people there?
Yeah.
Because you had
Right.
300 in the first hour and by the time it was all said and done you were like,
Yeah.
we had almost 600 people here. What was the highlight of the day and then what would you
Yeah.
say would be the most frustrating thing that happened?
Yeah. Even before the day of, one of the things that I'm so incredibly thankful for was I've been pretty public about my involvement in Pride, which has come with a risk, honestly,
Yeah.
because of my community, because of my community growing up also was a pretty conservative Christian. And so I have a lot of Facebook friends that fall in that camp, right? I have a lot of followers, a lot of people who know my parents. My parents are restaurant owners in town and my dad's a pastor. So they just know like everybody. And
What
being
restaurant do your
really
parents own? They own a restaurant in Norfolk?
they do. My mom owns the restaurant called Ricardo's. My grandfather started it when she was a child. So
Oh,
yeah,
see, if I'd have known
yeah.
that, I would
So
have gone and had dinner there before I hightailed
oh,
around town.
yes, yeah. Next time, I'll bring you some
Okay,
sometime. We'll work it out. We'll work it out.
okay,
But
okay.
my parents just know like so many people, and I know so many people that um this coming out process for me, both in my own coming out, but then also coming out as a Pride organization in Norfolk and my involvement in that organization has come with a lot of risk. And unfortunately, it's also come with a lot of loss for me.
Mm,
Losing people I was close to for a long time,
yeah.
losing uh, some people have lost their respect for me, which is really hard. I don't know if you know much about the Enneagram, but I'm an Enneagram 3. So, like, what matters, that's an achiever. And so, what matters to me is like relationships and getting things done and like having respect. And so,
Yeah.
that always gets me is when someone doesn't respect me anymore. And I'm sure with your work through therapy, just like how um, other people's opinions shouldn't matter to us, right? And they do. like
Well,
it's
there's a
yeah,
lot to unpack
yes,
about what it is that we as
right.
LGBTQ plus, folks have to
Mhm,
deal with from like the
mhm,
moment that we start to realize like
mhm,
am I the only one, like am I the unicorn in the room, and I'm
right.
still the unicorn in the room quite frequently, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a reality that
Mhm,
there's a lot of things. I mean,
mhm,
I'm 56 years old
mhm,
and I've been in and out of therapy my whole life, and it
right.
wasn't until the therapist that I have now that I
Mhm,
really started to dig in and look at the trauma from years, like decades
yeah.
of being told that I was less than or having to somehow defend my humanity to folks who
Mhm,
thought that I was somehow less than human, even just
mhm,
being someone who was born assigned female and was attracted to other female presenting people
Mhm.
or to female presenting people, because I
Mhm.
wasn't always a feminine presenting
Mhm.
person, right? But there's a lot to unpack with that. So absolutely,
Yeah.
I mean, the reason why so many people don't come out in small areas, in small towns, is because there is a huge risk
Mhm.
involved in having people vilify you and hate you. I mean, I just had a
Right.
parent, like literally 2 days after I got back from Norfolk, I had a parent from a small town reach out to me. They have a trans kiddo who came out, who has, and it's a public school in the small town that they go in, or that they
Mhm.
go to. And this kiddo was given permission by the school to work out in the boys' gym area. And that's one thing for there to be supportive adults, but then they're in there with unsupportive kiddos who like did some egregious things to this kid. And I'm
Mhm.
not even going to repeat,
Mhm.
because like people don't understand that it still happens, that
Mhm.
it is happening today.
Mhm.
And that if we had comprehensive sex education in all of our public schools throughout Nebraska, and people could learn about people like you and me, that's going to minimize our risk, the
Mhm.
risk that
Mhm.
we have to face and that our
Mhm.
kiddos are facing, even
Right.
amongst people who are technically safe.
Mhm.
That's why I stopped calling places safe. They can be open and affirming, but they certainly aren't safe, because it's not possible for it to be safe.
Mhm.
You can't
Mhm.
control all the people who are going to show up in the
Mhm.
room. There
Right.
might be someone who shows up in the room who says, "Oh, no, 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 I get it. You're fine. You're transgender. Love is love." Well,
Mhm.
I am transgender, but love is completely separate and distinct from that,
Yeah.
because when you say that
From
to
yeah.
me, I'm thinking sexual orientation in love is love. Yes, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so it's like there's just a lot to unpack.
A lot. Yeah.
And I mean, I look at it like this. And Mo, I'm guessing that you're in your late 20s, early 30s.
I turned 30 this year.
Okay,
So I am
so I'm
30
about
years
right.
old. Yeah. Yep.
But think about it like this. There are
Mhm.
folks who were born in Norfolk 10,
Mhm.
20, 30 years prior to you, who
Mhm.
left and never came back.
Never.
There are folks who stayed and didn't come out until maybe 5, 10 years ago, or 13
Right.
years ago, or 20, 15 years ago, but
Mhm.
only to people that were close to them.
Yep.
And so you are living out loud and proud completely and
Mhm.
being you. And I'm sorry that it comes with losing connections with people who you loved and respected,
Mhm.
but it wasn't reciprocated. And then there's
Right.
just the grieving that needs to
Yep.
happen. So,
Yep.
I mean, more power to you. And I know
Yeah.
that it isn't easy, and that there are a lot of mountains to climb, but man,
Yeah.
you all did an extraordinary, like I kept saying, it was epic. It was freaking
Thank
epic,
you.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was epic.
Mhm.
So, the piece, the thing that you are most proud of about everything that happened, and then
Yeah.
the frustration. Let's get back to that. I keep
Yeah, yeah,
interrupting
yeah.
you, and I
I know no,
apologize.
it's all good.
You
It's
can
all good
slap
to
me the
I was
next time you see me.
it's all good, it's all good. So, yeah, so, like, the reason that I even brought up that, like, loss and heartache is, like, I our society has made everything dual, right? There's, like, good and there's bad. There's,
Yeah.
black and there's white, and
Oh, come on. Now
there's,
you're gonna
you
start on the
know
binary things in the world.
Okay,
We could go
okay,
on forever
okay,
and
you get
ever
it,
about
right.
that. Yeah.
So, like, my intention and what I always invite people to in my work, in my spiritual guidance, is living in the and, right? That there is always an and so living authentically and being myself has come with this loss and this grief, and it has come with uncategorizable joy.
Yeah.
Leading up to the event itself. Like, I just today went back and looked through this, and I have received over 45 texts and or messages and or calls from people who just said thank you. Like, I needed this and I didn't have it. Thank you. Like, please keep
Beautiful.
doing what you're doing. I wish I could be back there. Like just and some of these are people I know. Some of these people I knew but didn't know they were part of the community, right? Like,
Wow. Yeah.
some of these people are parents of kids who were part of the community and suffered growing up, you know?
Yep.
And so I think one of my favorite, like the best thing that happened during the day is when people I grew up with or people I knew or people I didn't know who knew people I knew, whatever it was, came up to me that day and cried in my arms and said, thank you. Like, thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
And I did not do it alone. Like, my team was incredible and helped me every step of the way. My wife and I met during the pandemic. And so she knew me as like a stay at home, every weekend's at home, don't leave the house kind of person, and thought that was like normal because that was her normal. And then I'm like, oh no, honey, I'm leading a brand new Pride organization. I'm on this board, I'm on that board, I volunteer for that. Like, so just the way that she has shown up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way that she has supported me through this and like kept our laundry clean. Like, she has like supported me in the most beautiful ways, you know, like in order to do this.
Well,
And
she digs you.
yeah.
I know that much.
We're kind of gross. That's what I tell people. I'm like, we're disgustingly
I don't think you're
in
gross at
love.
all. I do not think it's gross at all. I was like, I just was really struck by how, like, you know, I'm teaching her how to run the board and do all the stuff and, you know, setting up all my equipment. And she kept thinking to herself, she's like, oh my gosh, like, you know, Mo wants to do this. And like, I'm so excited to be learning this. And like, maybe I can help her. And I mean, just, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you are so in love.
We really
it's
are.
Beautiful because she, you know, you complement each other in this aspect, and that is, you're the front of the house and she's the back of the house. If you're talking about a restaurant, she will cook all day long and take care of the dishes and do all that stuff. Doesn't ever need to be seen. And you're out and then you're like finessing the people. And
that's exactly right. That's
how's your food?
Right.
And oh my gosh, nope, you're right. That should not look like that. Let me take care of that for you. Take it back to the kitchen and have it cooked up the right way. And I got you.
Exactly.
I had you both pegged within the first 10 minutes. So it's all
good.
good.
I know. It's exactly who we are. And
and
we
I
both
love
need each other.
I love that for you.
Yeah. So I think the hardest thing for me, honestly, there wasn't much difficulty that happened the day of. It was a lot of the before and after stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So there are a limited number of people who know the whole story, and I don't know that I want to divulge all of the information today, but you don't
have to. I only want you to share
I won't.
what you feel.
I do want to give some details, just like for some perspective, to know like what this journey has been for me. Anyone in Nebraska who's watching knows that the proposed health standards came up recently, and Nebraska blew up over it. Norfolk blew up over it. And there's just been a lot of really difficult conversations about sex ed and protecting kids. And I certainly am on the comprehensive sex education train. Like that undoubted, like no doubt in my mind, that's where I am. And there are a lot of people in our community who aren't there. And there was some anti-LGBTQ community organization that happened
Mm.
because of the health standards, and it happened to coincide with our event. And
Yeah.
because even though the health standards, unfortunately, have kind of been removed from the conversation at the state board level, I mean, folks are still having a
Yeah.
conversation, but they have made it clear
Right.
they're not going to put anything out. Okay.
Well, they suspended conversation about, I mean, I was there. I was at
Yes.
the Omaha one and testified,
Yes.
and like,
Yes.
so I'm very familiar, and we could have a whole nother episode on that,
A
but I get it.
whole episode on that. Yes.
Well, like a
Yes. So,
series.
yes.
We could
Mhm.
do a
Mhm.
series because
We could.
the
Yes.
lack of knowledge and awareness, like I'm not even,
Uh-huh.
I'm not, it's like, what's super sad is when I say someone is ignorant, it's not a slur. The
Mm-mm.
the definition of the word is literally a lack of knowledge.
Yep.
And so, there is that ignorance that exists, and I get it. It's a lot. It's a lot
Mhm.
to learn. That's why I started doing the teaching that I do and facilitating around what it is to create open and affirming spaces for people like me.
Mhm.
And giving people the knowledge and saying,
Mhm.
look, there is a ton of terminology. Yes, it can really get confusing, and
Mhm.
I'm validating that that's real for you, but then there's the camp of, nope, I don't care what you have to say. I don't want to hear it.
Mhm.
It's not
Mhm.
true. You're drinking the Kool-Aid, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, well, actually, you are
Yeah.
projecting that you have
Yeah.
drank the Kool-Aid. I am just
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
And so I know that that led into probably a lot of folks. I know that there was some stuff that had happened on your Facebook page, the Norfolk
Yeah.
Pride Facebook page,
Yep.
and some other
Yep.
things
Yep.
that,
So,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, there were just no, it's okay. So, I think because we were coming off the tails of that in this community, and there were already some anti-LGBTQ folks organized, there was just a lot of there was fear for sure from those in the LGBTQ community about what might come of that.
Yeah.
There were some comments made online that felt quite threatening, um, towards our event
Yeah.
and towards our community. There were several community leaders who unfortunately were not in a place of education that I thought that they were in. And I got pulled into some conversations that were really hard for
Wow.
me personally. And it's one of those things that, like, through my whole coming out process, my people now, like the people I go to, the people I call, the people who are closest to me are safe to me because I have identified them as safe, right?
Sure. Sure.
Like those are my people. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I've sort of insulated myself with those people so that I'm protected a little bit from some
Yeah.
others that aren't safe for me. And just being vocal and being really living my true self, and also inviting the LGBTQ community in Northeast Nebraska to live out and proud, came with meeting a lot of ignorance and honestly a lot of hatred at times.
Yeah.
And what I don't think, I mean, marginalized communities know this and talk about this, right? But we are often asked to be the educators of our own lived experiences, or like of our, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like
sure.
we are.
And that comes with a lot of challenges as well, because it's
Yes.
like, okay, so
Yes.
you want me to educate you. However, now I feel like I'm having to defend my identities,
Yes.
as
Yes.
opposed to like truly someone having an open mind and open heart and saying, look, I
Right.
want to learn. I truly want to learn. And then
Mhm.
what I say is this, I go, if you really want to learn, I have a workshop,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it only costs you this much to put your butt in the
And
seat. And
here's
then
how
they're
much you
like,
pay me.
They're
to do
like,
this work. Yes.
"Oh, well, if
Mhm,
you want people
mhm,
to understand
mhm.
your community, maybe you should do this work for free." You know what? Go to
Mhm.
my YouTube channel and watch some of my stuff on
Yep.
YouTube. You can
Yep.
have all that stuff for free.
Yeah.
And you know what? And we are gonna give it to you with a chaser.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
Because
So,
the
and
truth
I,
of the matter is I can't placate, but
yeah.
it gets difficult when you're in an organization and you're wanting to
Mhm,
represent the organization in a way that it's one of those things where it's like, I want you to treat me with dignity and respect, right? And so I have to
mhm,
act in a certain way. I have to be respectful and
mhm,
dignified, but
mhm.
sometimes it's incredibly challenging.
Yeah. And it's also, I don't know that those who have not been marginalized anyway, I don't think that folks, you know this, the emotional energy that it takes us every single time to sit in a room with someone who does not understand me and to
Yeah.
use my experiences to teach you something that you should know, or something that you could find elsewhere,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Something that man, it is just draining. It is draining. And so the weeks leading up to the festival, I cannot tell you how many conversations I had to have with people defending myself, defending my community,
Mm.
defending my lifestyle. Thank you. This is not a lifestyle. This is literally my identity.
Right.
And just like, because Norfolk has had a lack of representation here,
Mm.
literally forever, like
Yeah.
literally for forever.
Yep.
Just as a small taste, literally every single one of our city council members is a white, cis, het, Christian male. Every
Mm.
single one of them. Okay. We don't even have a woman on city council. Okay.
Wow.
And so, and that isn't,
When is the next election?
well, I'm working on it, honey. I am working on it. But it is just, yeah. So it is just, that's just a taste to say that
Yeah.
we don't have representation here, which means there's been a lack of
Right.
exposure, which means there's a lack of education. And so, like, we're not, I mean, conversations that I have are really starting at ground zero
Yeah. And
constantly, you know?
yes. Yep. And it is
So, and
exhausting.
it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And so, just the amount of like emotional labor, like let alone the physical and mental labor that goes into like planning a festival this large,
Yeah.
just the emotional labor has been intense.
Yeah.
Thank God for friends, who I can talk
Yeah.
to and who understand. But
Well,
yeah,
and I'm grateful that you have that kind of support, because it can really,
yeah,
like, doing that kind of work can feel very lonely,
right,
and you're always feeling like somehow you're trying to climb up this endless mountain
right.
that just seems to keep getting taller. And
Hmm.
I promise you, eventually you're gonna feel that, like, downturn, and you'll hit a
Yeah,
curve.
yeah,
And and if you set out with the commitment that what you're building is a firm
hmm.
foundation, that even if you and Angie say in 3 years, "We are out of
Yeah.
here,"
I
that what
can't do
you
this
leave
anymore.
yeah, that what you leave
Right,
behind is that you've built a foundation that can
right.
continue to flourish without you. And any
Yeah,
great leader would tell you that. Any great leader would
right.
say, what you create, and being a good leader is, who
Mhm.
are you're constantly looking at who's the next person to come in, who's the
Right.
next person. I mean, I met a number of people who would be great to run for city
Yes.
council, um,
Yep.
who are
Yep.
in Norfolk, who would
Yep.
make a huge difference. And you know what the
Right.
truth of the matter is that anything without us, or anything that doesn't include us, is by
Mhm.
definition,
Mhm.
exclusionary.
Right.
And the
Yep.
fact that you have that on your city council
Mhm.
is pretty glaring. But I get it. I mean, but
Yeah.
look at this. I
Yeah.
mean, here's the other thing to think about. You were telling me that Friday night, because you had an event on Friday night,
Yeah.
and that it was like wall to wall, right?
Yes. Yep.
And so tell me a little bit about what some of the business owners, like the Friday
Yeah.
night person in the bar on
Yep.
Saturday night, because you sent me
Yeah.
a picture and I'm like, it was wall to wall people.
It was insane. It was
Yeah.
insane. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a newer, I think they've been open for about 2 years in Norfolk, called 411. And they are at 411 West Norfolk Avenue. That's their address in Norfolk. But Danny Orwa is the owner and chef of that restaurant. And he just breaks all the rules, and I am here for it every second of the way. It is the only Black-owned restaurant in Norfolk. And so I'm just super proud of him. He has his own story of like everything that he had to go through to get to even owning a restaurant in Norfolk, Nebraska,
I
and
imagine.
just like his own hardships and all of that stuff. But he was um, one of less than five. Okay. There are less than five businesses in Norfolk, Nebraska who have ever publicly celebrated Pride that I know
Mm.
of. If I'm missing anyone, I'm sorry. But I have seen a Love is Love sticker on one business. I have seen a Pride flag on the bar that we went to Saturday night. I've seen Danny support, and I don't even know if there's two others that I could think of, but literally those
Right.
three. And I went to Danny months ago and I said, Danny, we're having a Pride Festival. Friday night, we need somewhere to hang out. Like, would you do some drink specials for us or something? And one of the things that I love is he said, yep. That was his whole answer. Like, not a question, not like, oh, let me think about
Like,
it. Or like,
oh, well,
I don't know if
I
we can do
mean,
that. I don't know if I'm going to lose client. You know what I mean? Like, he was like,
we
yep.
don't have those kind in here.
No, not at all. He was like, of course, you know.
Oh, that's awesome.
He made some Pride special drinks, and they were delicious, by the way. And he put them out on his Facebook, and I think within like 6 hours, he had like 48 shares or something like that. And I just like scrolled through some of his old posts just to see the most shares he had ever had on a post was 4. And so
Wow.
from 4 to 48, like was pretty flippin' fantastic.
Wow.
And it just was like this beautiful gathering. So our board, and we had some special guests from out of town that were already here. And so we went out to dinner that night. And I mean, it was just like, I knew Friday night, like walking in, I'm like, this is going to be an excellent weekend, because just the love that was in the room, like that was the reason people were there,
Yeah.
was just to love. And it was a beautiful night. Danny did awesome. His staff did amazing. And then Saturday night after the festival, we had a drag show for the first time ever in Northeast Nebraska.
Wow.
And we had Martina Shakers out of Sioux City came and kind of hosted that for us, and got the performers to come to Norfolk. And I believe there were 13 performers. It was
Wow.
like a 3-hour show. It was insane. I think a busy night at the Mint is probably like 40 people. Might kind of be a busy night for them.
Right.
And at one point, I counted, or I had someone else count, and there were like 160 people in the business. That was
Wow.
before the show started. and at
Wow.
least 100 people, and I would guess another 150 people came. So like my best estimate is that there were like 300 people in that tiny little bar.
Oop.
So it was
Shh, don't tell the fire
insane. I
department.
know. Yeah, I know. I mean, definitely only 45 people there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
oh
There
my
was,
gosh,
I
it
mean,
was
50
yes,
tops.
50 tops. Yes. Oh my goodness. It was crazy. And like just the love in the room, you know.
Yeah.
Martina's a very experienced drag queen. She's been doing this for years all over the Midwest.
Yeah.
And they did a finale, all of them together did a finale piece. And
Wow.
before, you know, Martina just like said, thank you. And like, I'm so glad to be here. And I have never seen Martina cry on stage, but she
Oh.
started crying and she said, like, I think this is the most beautiful show I've ever done. Like, I
Wow.
have felt so much love from this crowd. And just to like hear, if you know Martina, she's a little bit rough around the edges. You know what I mean? Like she'll
I do know Martina.
I
I
know.
do.
I
It's
know.
all
I
good.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so just like to see her get emotional and like feel that loved, like
Yeah.
I just thought that that was pretty special. Thought that was pretty
Yeah.
special.
That
So
is beautiful. And I mean, I don't want to
yeah,
discount any of
I know.
Martina's
I
enthusiasm
know.
or what she brought.
I know.
And
Yep.
truthfully, like, you know, the truth of the matter is this. I do love our community. I just
Mhm.
also know that individually we have some learning to do, and that's it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I'm always going to be that guy that is going to go, can we unpack that just a little bit?
Yeah.
Because that was
Yeah.
so not cool. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yep.
so tell me this. How many
Yeah.
people, so you had booths there, right? So you had
Mhm.
people who set up
Yep.
booths. How
Yep.
many vendors were at your place?
We had 23 vendors. 23
And
vendors. Yeah,
did that shock you? Like,
it was pretty great. I didn't know for sure. So we did like our first kind of map or whatever of that room. And we could fit, I think 25 was like our max. And I was like, okay, we'll probably have 15 people in there. You know what I mean? Like maybe 15 tables or like we'll
this is
see.
great.
And then like we
Room
were
for
like telling
25.
people, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then at the end, I'm like, we were telling people, no, like, sorry, we're full. Sorry, we're full. Sorry, we're full.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
And even like since Pride now, I've had so many businesses and organizations contact me and be like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was happening. Like I would have
Yeah.
been there. And so that's been really cool. I mean, our board did a great job of reaching out into the community, but there's just people who get missed, you know, or who are
Yeah. And
not
you know,
quite in
here's,
Norfolk.
and
And
the
yeah,
truth of the matter is this. I mean, you will have twice as many things happening next year.
I know. I know.
And
It's
there
gonna
will
be
be
nuts.
maybe you know, like, is there an arena where you can
Yeah, I
actually
know.
have Pride? You know, because
Yep.
I'm willing to bet with the enthusiasm with this first Pride that you're going to double
Mhm.
everything easily
Yeah.
within that 1
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And so I would plan for that.
Yes.
Mo.
I know. I'm like, let's do it.
It's your fault, Mo. No.
Can I take a nap first? That's my question. Like, can I
There
take
is
a nap
only
before we
you
start?
I'll
So
tell you. So, are you always going to have do you think you're always going to have your Pride event in September? Is that kind of what you think you're
I think so because we don't want to compete with
Yeah.
any of the larger prides around. You know what I mean? Like we kind of want to be our own thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
actually it's a smart move. Like
Yeah.
I think that still educating because that's the other piece of
Mhm.
it is like you know making sure that we have that
Yes.
educational
Yes.
piece about Pride
Yes.
actually happens usually in June, but the reason why it doesn't
Yes.
happen in
Yes.
June is because of the XYZ reason.
Yep.
But again, like look at the bonus of that is that you had so many people show up.
Right.
And
And we gotta
I
have folks
mean,
from other pride organizations come because they weren't,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, in the thick of their own festivals.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, I'll come back. I'll come back
Yeah.
next year
Yeah.
if you'll have me back. I mean,
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
maybe we
So,
should plan a little workshop-y thing too.
yeah.
That might be
Yeah.
kind of fun to plan a little workshop where we're
Yeah.
maybe even educating people about Pride and how Pride
Yep.
started
Yep.
and
Yep.
that kind
We
of
have
thing.
so many ideas and plans, like so
I'm
many
sure you
things.
do.
Because
I'm sure you
yeah,
do.
and just coming out of this too, like we had no idea. And I'm like, okay, like Norfolk was ready. Like we
Yeah.
were ready to support this organization and have this organization. And it's been helpful to identify allies in the community that aspiring allies in the community so that when we have issues that come up, there are at least some names I know to call. You know what I mean? Of
Yeah.
like when
Yeah.
we need support or when we need a showing or when we need a something,
Yeah.
I there are some places I can go to at least start the conversation. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and we'll talk. I've got a couple of things that
Mhm.
might also make a difference in regard to
Yeah.
just kind of uplifting and
Yeah.
educating, doing some of those
Yep.
things. I mean, I'd be willing to
Yep.
come back and conduct a workshop or two for free
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to get folks to come and learn and really
Yeah.
just be in that conversation. Because, the
Right.
bottom line is this. I mean, what people don't think about is that there are actually LGBTQIA2S plus folks who are religious. I'm
I
not one
know.
of them, but
I
there are
am.
folks who are
I'm
Christian
an
and
ordained
Catholic,
Christian
right?
pastor. Yep.
Well, see, I
Yep.
mean, look,
Yep.
we are everywhere.
We are. We are everywhere. Yes.
We are
Yes.
everywhere. Well, listen, Mo,
Mhm.
I mean, thank you so much. First of all, for
Of
the work
course.
that you're doing in Norfolk,
Mhm.
because it is truly epic and like revolutionary. And you were right. Like Norfolk was ready to pop.
Literally.
I mean, that
Yep.
champagne bottle, that
Yes.
cork was ready to blow
It really was. Yep.
and it went sky high. So,
Yeah.
so again, I just think like, thank you for doing that work.
Mhm.
Thank you for bringing together the people that needed to come together.
Yeah.
I loved meeting the parents that were on that panel and hearing some of
Mhm.
their stories about,
Yeah.
supporting their kiddos. A couple of them, the kiddos have moved away, but a couple of them,
Yep.
their kiddos are still there in high school.
Mhm. Yep.
And, it's like we need that kind of visibility.
Yep.
And, the one I nicknamed the one, the unicorn, magical unicorn mama.
Mom. Yep. I love her.
I mean, what a truly amazing human. Like I
Yeah.
just wanted to hug her all up, and
Yeah.
I hear I have to come back and have dinner at their house because she
Yes.
is also an extraordinary cook. So,
Oh my gosh. Yes. I've taken a Korean cooking class from her and she is amazing. It's
oh,
so good. So good.
awesome. Maybe I'll
So,
have to
yeah.
come for the next cooking class.
Yeah. For sure.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, I mean, again, thank you so much. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm bowing down to you. It's just so grateful to have met you, and
Mhm.
you kept your word. You
Mhm.
said, I'm going to do some things, and I've got your name like you told me
Mhm.
when you met me
Mhm.
at
Mhm.
the YN, the Young Professional
Uh-huh. Summit
Network.
in Omaha.
Yes, at the
Yep.
summit.
Yep. Yep.
And you said, you're like, mm. So
I'll
I
be in
just appreciate
touch.
that. Yes, and
Yeah.
you came through with that promise, and really,
Mhm.
truly, it was a gift to me. It was a
Mhm.
gift to me to be able to be there, to have some of the conversations that I had with some of the folks that were there.
Yeah.
It was interesting is because I didn't know this, but like one of the high schools principals and wife was in the room for a couple of conversations I didn't know
Mhm.
about. And I was like,
Mhm.
sounds like there needs to be some education. And it's like, I'm happy to come back.
Yep.
And it's like I should have known there was a chance maybe
Mhm.
there was somebody in the room who might be connected to the principal of the school.
That was a thing. Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, but it sounds like though I think about this, though I think about, there is this person who's in a position who is open and affirming, but
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have the support that
Mm-hmm.
he needs
Mm-hmm.
in uplifting knowledge and awareness. And that's it. It's just about
Yep.
uplifting knowledge and awareness and
Yep.
treating people with dignity and respect and understanding
Yep.
that, look, I'm not trying to turn your kid trans. Now,
Right.
if your kid does come out as trans, that's because they were.
They already were.
Yeah,
Like,
and or
wasn't
if they
me.
come out as gay or they come out as
Mm-hmm.
lesbian, like
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing in the water.
Mm-hmm.
There is no pill. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we are not indoctrinating, right? There's no
No.
indoctrination. Despite
Mm-mm.
what one time someone used to say that, for conversions, you get to get a toaster.
Yeah.
Uh, have you heard of, I think it was an Ellen DeGeneres thing from,
Yes.
I don't know, I'm showing my age again.
Yes.
But anyway, I could talk all night, as you notice, but it
Yeah.
is
So could I.
7:04.
Yep.
Well, and I'll have you back. You know what? I'll have you back
Yeah,
one of
I would
these
love
days
that.
and we'll talk about your business.
Yeah,
And
I
the
would
other
love
thing
that.
that we could also work on is maybe
Hmm.
bringing on some of these folks, these supportive businesses in the area, and just having
Yep.
conversations with some of the folks that were vendors at your event,
Yep.
and just like hearing their take, like what was the result? Are you
Yep.
happy? Do you feel like it was worth it for you to be there
Hmm.
and have a table at that event?
Hmm.
If you were selling things, do you feel like it was worth your while to schlep your products out there and have them there? Because I mean, I look at it like this. I'll bet you that the guy at the 411 is not regretting
No.
hosting the event on Friday
No.
night. And I'm pretty
No.
sure the person who owns the business on Saturday is also feeling no regret.
They're already planning their next show. So they're already planning their next drag show. So
Yeah, because it's like, if you build it, they will come.
yeah. Yep.
Period.
And one other
Um,
like real quick thing, because we
yeah,
sent out a
yeah.
survey to all of our vendors. Of the 23 we had, 10 of them have replied, and every single one of them have said it was absolutely amazing and they would do it again and they would refer another business to be a vendor at the festival. So we've had only good response from that so far. So
Oh, here we go.
yeah.
Gotta have some applause.
Yes.
A little applause. And for those who
Yes.
didn't
Yes.
come, for those who did not come,
There's always
your
next
loss
year.
this year, but there's
Right.
always next year. Pride
Right.
planning is year round. Pride planning is year
Yes.
round. Um,
Yep.
I did put a link to the Facebook page. If you go to Norfolk Area Pride on Facebook, I think, is there a
Mhm.
donate button out there?
There is on our website.
Okay, so I'm
Not
gonna
on
just pull
Facebook
this up
yet.
real
It's been a whole
quick,
thing. Mhm.
and I'm gonna go like this. For those
So
of you
it's
who might be watching from the Norfolk area and you're curious about what might be happening, or you want to get involved, there
mhm.
is the website for Norfolk Area Pride.
Yep.
The other thing I want to share here real quick is that Speaking of Happy does happen every other week. So today is an episode of Speaking of Happy. Next Friday, we'll have another episode of Frankly Speaking, and that is myself and my co-host, Avalisa Ellicott. And we basically bring together transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming folks, and we have really frank conversations about what it's like to be us in the world. So it's kind of a transgender experience type of thing where we just talk about some of the silly things that happen. We also share about the joyful things that are happening in our lives and the things that we get to celebrate, because we are not just our trauma. Right? Yes. Okay. All right, Mo. Any parting words? I'll give you a few seconds to share if you want to share a thank you to your
Yeah.
folks. Because I did share
Yeah.
this stream on the Norfolk page.
Yeah, I just want to say again, thank you so much to my board. I am stepping into Norfolk Area Pride presidency
Woohoo.
October 1st. So that will be exciting for me. But thank you so much to all of my board and my planning team and volunteers. I could not have pulled off Norfolk's first Pride without you. And a big thanks to all of our sponsors.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm actually going to share those sponsors right now. The Arizona Community
Yeah.
Foundation, the Phoenix Philanthropy Group, the Begats. These are the first two donors were event sponsors, and then we had Rainbow donors. Black Cow Fat Pig Pub and Steak, Dacos, Guaranteed Lawn Care and Landscaping, Hatfield Family Dentistry, Norfolk Arts Center, which is actually where the event was held. And it's a really beautiful facility. If you haven't been there, you should support them as well. Prime Choice Insurance, LLC, Sea Change Therapy Services, LLC, Joe and Jiff Dakota. Did I say that right? Is it Dakota?
Dakota, that's our unicorn mom.
Yes. I just wanted to make
If,
sure it was pronounced. I didn't
Yep.
know that was their but I'm going to say, but I said it right. I'm proud of myself. And UHOP Entertainment, we have diversity sponsors. I mean, look at this page. It goes on and on. I'm just kidding. Continental, Core Therapeutic Services, Flood Communications, Grace Community, Growing Together, and Exarban Workforce Initiative, Northeastern Nebraska, Madonna's Wedding Bell, Midwest Bank, Michael Tabert, Mo Bailey Coaching, Visit Norfolk Area, Nebraska, Tracy and Russ Olson, and Ricardo's. And then we have a number of family sponsors. 411 Anonymous on behalf of trans individuals. Aw. That just made me a little weepy. It was really sweet. Chris and Megan Smithel, Cole Roberg, Farm Bureau, Brandon Doki, or is it Doke? Floral Expressions, Franklin's Bistro, Gary Flower, Good Life Counseling, Jackie Perry, Midtown Health, Northeast Community College. That's awesome. Nicole and Tom Weiss, or Weiss. Is it Weiss or Weiss? North Fork Outfitting, Nucor, Queen on the Scene, Real Living, Advantage Real Estate, Sacred Yoga, Sundance Investments, Target, hey, Victoria Wells, Realtor, V's, Odds and Ends, and Window World, because we all need a quick clean window.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, my friend. Well, again, thank you so much, Mo. Like I said, you are welcome to come back anytime. I'd be happy to have you. If there's anything you want to share or any events that are coming up in the area and you want to get the word out, happy to help do that. And I hope you have an amazing evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Take care. Good night.